I spent the early years of my career as an investment banker. And during this time, I felt that my job, in essence, was to help rich men get richer with no societal impact. So I quit. I decided I'd done that long enough, and I went to see if there was a way to help poor women get richer. I went on sojourns to Ghana, Bangladesh, India, Poland, Cuba, looking for work with meaning. I finally landed a job in Tanzania around 12 years ago with an organization whose aim was to tackle poverty using business solutions. It's these experiences that have laid the foundation for the work that I do now at ADB in the private sector division. My organization in Tanzania worked across Africa to turn poor family farms into one that earned money instead of just being a hand-to-mouth existence. My first role was monitoring and evaluation, which included counting the number of farming families that were benefiting from our work. Now, in order to prevent double counting, we could only count either the husband or the wife. So what could we do? While they both contributed, it was decided we would count husbands. He owned the farm, he was culturally head of the household, and he was the cooperative farmer member. However, what that meant is that I needed to go through and delete all the wives from the database. As I did that, I felt terrible, because I felt as if I was erasing her, along with her contributions and her aspirations. I wanted to better understand this husband-wife dynamic in farming families, particularly when we were wanting to do business with them. One day I went out and met a group of women in Uganda. They were cotton farmers. Now, cotton farming is back-breaking work, and women often spend longer hours than their husbands in the field doing this harsh work. These women's husbands had recently signed contracts with a private buyer. Now, this enabled them to sell their cotton at a fair price, and also they got training and even loans to help fund the seed and the fertilizer that they needed to buy. It sounded great, right? Unfortunately, not quite. You see, women like Tendo complained that there was now conflict and even more violence in their homes. You see, before they sold to the private buyer, they sold to a local trader. They got cash in their homes, and they could both access this cash and buy the things that they needed for their family. Since the private buyer had come along, the contract had been signed, and now the money was paid directly into the husband's bank account that he alone accessed and controlled. He went to the training, he got the information, so he was making the decisions around whether to take a loan and which farming techniques to use. So Tendo had lost all visibility and control over cotton farming and income. Tendo was left out, confused and poorer as a result of all these changes. So it's no surprise that there was more conflict in the home. The way out would have been for Tendo to have been involved if she had co-signed the contract, if the cotton payments had gone into a joint bank account, if she had also attended the trainings and the meetings, so she had the same information, and they could have made those decisions jointly. Then they both could have benefited and contributed equally. There are more than 500 million farming families like Tendo who produce more than 80% of the world's food, and they sell 3/4 of it because they consume only 1/4 at home. I'm grateful to Tendo and the other women I've met. I'm able, through my work, to bring their voices into the boardroom and let them be heard, often for the first time. Through my work, I enjoy the unique challenge that each company presents as we sit down together and ask ourselves, what can this company do to directly benefit women? Last year, 95% of our private sector clients agreed to at least 2 actions, but as many as 10 actions that would directly benefit women's lives. For instance, a solar generation company in Indonesia agreed to include Fatma in their technical trainings. She graduated from the program and was hired by the company to become their first female solar panel technician. Or another company in Mongolia. They borrowed to build milk collection centers in rural areas. These ensure that herders have a guaranteed buyer, which is critical given that their unpasteurized milk doesn't last for more than a day. However, initially, just 40% of these milk sellers at the collection centers were women. This was concerning, as milk culturally belongs to the woman and is hers to sell, because the cow as an animal belongs to her husband. So it seems that the women were not receiving the milk money that was their due. By working with the company, they agreed to be more mindful of this, and they reached out and made sure that more women sold to the milk collection center. This has had a great impact, and now more than 80% of the sellers to the collection center are women. These women report that having a guaranteed buyer means they can always sell their milk before it spoils, and this extra income is enabling them to buy winter clothes and pay tuition fees for their children. There is an African proverb that says, "To get lost is to learn the way." I certainly learned a lot during the time that I felt lost, and now I'm at the Asian Development Bank. I value being able to demonstrate with our private sector clients that it is indeed possible to build businesses that help poor women get richer.